Scuderia Ferrari Edition, the heart of the race.
Tight, not round, keep it up.
Hello and welcome back to Formula Sim Racing's World Championship as we head to the land of the rising sun and to one of motorsport's most prestigious and tricky venues as our track takes the treacherous turns of Suzuka, and that's for the 12th round of 14 in 2019. So we are very much at the end of the calendar. Lewis McGlade alongside Felix van Delft for apologies for the technical issues there. We're back to running at FSR. Obviously, just having a little bit. We'll blame that on Typhoon Hagibis. Obviously, not been around for a week and a bit, but that one can take the brunt of that. Whilst we are here in Suzuka, say 5.3 kilometre circuit, very very tricky. 5.8 rather kilometre circuit, 53 laps ahead of him. In this tricky car, say 933 brake horsepower, 370 kph top speed. We're not going to expect that around here. The cars will be running with such high downforce to get them through the S's, Dunlop, through the Degners, the hairpin spoon as well requires a lot of downforce. Not expecting top speed of that high, but there are some very very long straights which will provide a lot of slipstreams and DRS, potentially some good racing around here. Let's remind ourselves of what happened a few weeks ago when ACR's reign at the top was broken by one Petter Burlak, who took Edge Esports' first win in the Formula Sim Racing World Championship. Very important for him as he is in a tight fight with Martin Gosby for going to be taking us all the way down to round 14 in a few weeks' time. Let's take a look at the championship standings. We've got Jerne Simicic, 105 points clear at the top. Ridiculous season for him. First race not on the podium back in Singapore. Fought his way back up to P6 though after an issue. Did a very good job. That was with old team boss Michi Hoyer. But yes, Burlak was victorious, so he pulls 9 points clear of Martin Gosby. Robin Panzar actually did a really good job to get onto the podium for ACR, the sole ACR on the podium. And Jeffrey Fournier, his second time outside of the points last time, courtesy of a 40-second penalty. So pretty big news for him. Michele D'Alessandro in 6th. Did miss last round. He is here today. And the reason why I'd like to point him out is obviously he was the world champion last year. He also took his last race victory at this venue last year. So certainly a good one for him. Sander Callas was on pole that day, by the way. Doing some good jobs. ACR have wrapped up the team's title. 134 points clear of ACR Blue. Kind of that one was just waiting for that to be ticked off. Finally happened. But ACR Blue and Edge Esports only 26 points apart. So as much as that fight is heating up between Martin Gosby and Petter Burlak also having to push in the team's title as well to try and get second. We will join the action to see Martin Gosby presently on pole position. A spot he's been fairly familiar with, but maybe Ricardo Costa alongside him on the front row, only 9 thousandths behind. Not exactly one that would have expected to have been alongside him, but doing a very good job. Actually, fun fact with HME or Miller, it's not really a fun fact, not for them anyway. It was the first time last round they didn't score any points coming out of a Grand Prix, as both drivers were recipients of a penalty post-race. Well, that was a lot to talk about.
Yeah. As we head into this qualifying session now, we see indeed Gosby on pole. Costa doing a good job right behind him. Still 10 minutes to go. And I'm sure that the few drivers that are a bit further back now might be able to get a bit more speed in their cars. For example, Kalash, unless he has a back of the grid penalty, which I'm not aware of. Could be. He is on a lap. So let's see what he's able to do.
Here he is then. P19 for Sander Callas coming through 130R. I think he's going to be absolutely bombing it around. Say, pole position last year for Sander Callas for Netrex. Important for Netrex as well. They need to get some good results on the board. They were actually second here last year, courtesy of Daniel Kish. So certainly a very good time for them. Comes across the line and goes P14. So not the best time. Petter Burlak goes on to pole position though, 27.825. I'm just looking at some stats with Petter Burlak. It's actually one track that he's yet to finish on the podium in World Championship. He was disqualified from last year's race due to a breach in the tyre rule. Back in 2016, finished 22nd, outside of the points by a country mile. Best finish here of 4th place, coming when he was driving for Twister in 2015 on the way to that World Championship. So a curious track for Petter Burlak. It's not really worked out for him. Felix. Interesting. Ricardo Costa currently in the 3rd position. Comes through Dunlop absolutely on the limit of that car. Fantastic work for him. That car looks very, very planted going through there. There's a reason why he's up in that position. Currently in P3. I would assume Jeffrey Fournier, who's kind of outpaced Ricardo Costa for quite a bit of the season, definitely outscored him a lot in the points. I would suspect that Fournier would move up if the car is looking this quick. We also have seen through the lower categories that Ghost Speed have once again really, really figured out their car out here. Of course, Tom Satherley victorious earlier in the day for Ghost Speed, doing a very, very good job, tyre strategy and on speed alone. So that Ghost Speed seems to be coming together here as well. They ran just shy of victory at Monza, courtesy of a late mistake from Janis Brakshock, and a very unfortunate one.
Yes, indeed. Now Costa coming out of the last corner. I think this lap might be very close to what Burjak did. But that mistake at the end, it definitely spoiled it for him.
Oh, to say he was only half a second off of his time shows how strong that lap was. He was up by over a tenth in the first sector, dropped a little bit in the second, but not that much really. Just putting the power down. We actually seen this mistake a few times. Luke McGuire did it, I think, in the previous race. I think it was the pro race. Coming out of that corner, it's actually really, really hard to put the power down out of there.
Yeah, McGuire indeed made that mistake as well in the pro race. Ended up in the pit wall. That was the end of his race. Now, championship winner, I should say, Simon-Cic, is about to start his qualifying lap. Like to see what he's able to do. Down in 5th at the moment with only just over a 10th. Gaps are very close at the moment here. Maybe he's able to find some time.
Well, we'll ride on board with him and check out what a lap does from. Of course, he's running the ACR car. Since winning the World Championship, the orange has been rebranded to a nice gold. Whether you're a fan of it or not, it just signifies how important it is to him that he's won this championship. We run down towards the first corner. This tricky double apex is almost flat through the first part of it. You do have to kind of brake. You basically brake on the apex of the first corner, maybe a little bit before. We run through the S's section, which is all this complete flowing part of the circuit. You've got to really hook the curbs as well to just push the rear end of the car around a bit. Comes through the end of that, and then up through Dunlop. Of course, a corner which is very infamous. I'm sure a lot of sim racers had a lot of rage at that corner by running ever so slightly too wide. Comes to the first Degner, just a single downshift, and then bam down a couple. I absolutely love the second Degner. It's an annoying corner, but it's so much fun when you get it right. And then up to the hairpin. We're going to see a few dive bombs into here for sure. Whether any of them will be successful remains to be seen. Leaving the hairpin, that's the 11th turn of the circuit. So already 11 done in less than a minute. These corners come thick and fast. Up towards Spoon Corner, heavy on the brakes once you see that exit road on the right hand side. Balance it out to the outside but without running over the curb, and then get that exit absolutely perfect for the super long run up to 130R and then the Casio triangle. 130R, not a particularly difficult corner, certainly not in modern Formula 1 style cars. Absolutely flat out without any real breath. Then the heavy braking zone of the Casio triangle. Hook the first curb. Just use a little bit of the second and try and put the power down nicely. You don't use any of the curb on the right-hand side. A bit of a snap on the rear end as he tries to hold it close to the line. And he goes to third. Jane Simon-Cic up to third on a 27.835. Whilst we were watching that, Ryan Panzer jumped up onto pole position at 27.7.
Yeah, great lap from him as well. And I think Mohammed Patel is somebody to look out for as well. Good first sector, decent second sector. If his last sector is as good as some of the others, might be able to put himself inside the top 5 as well.
First podium in a very long time last time out for Mohammed Patel. He comes across the line and jumps up to 7th on a 28.008. I think it was his first podium in, was it nearly 2 years?
It was
a year. He's not taken a race victory in 2 years, and his last victory came at this circuit as well. So both of the John Lacey esports cars, their last victory came at this circuit on the way to a World Championship.
Yeah, Jeffrey Fournier starting his lap for HME Oremila SimSport.
Very strong season for HME Oremila, realistically. But things just fell apart quite a lot. I was really backing him. I blame myself mostly for this because I was backing him big style at Singapore, thinking that he was going to make the alternative strategy work, and it just didn't come about. Curious as to why it didn't. I never actually got an answer on that, why it never came together.
Yeah, I don't know. Difficult track, difficult to do a strategy, but see him there sliding into the hairpin.
Yeah, not a good line in the hairpin. By the way, purple in the first sector. Peter Burlak will go back to him once he crosses the second sector split. Jeffrey Fournier will be running up to it very, very soon through Spoon. Misses the apex of the second part of Spoon completely. The Frenchman a solid couple of baguettes away from it. Heads to the second sector split. Not sure what the time is through it. He's down on his previous. It's still a solid time. It's just not great. Oh, Peter Burlak's massively up. We'll go back to him in a moment. We see Fournier come through the Casio triangle to complete his lap. Currently in 9th position. I kind of feel he's going to stay in that way. Yes, he stays in 9th. Sets the time a 10th slow. We run back to Peter Burlak. Yeah. Boom, back on pole.
Great time from him. And he has got one attempt left. Simon-Cic has not got any attempts left, by the way. So, he's at least saved from the championship winner. But Martin Gosby, I think, will be trying to challenge him a bit further, because his first sector is not too bad. Personal best for Martin Gosby in the first sector. Let's see what the second sector is going to bring him.
Burlak's got one more go at it. He's just left the pit lane now to begin that run. 1.5 minutes to go, so he's got plenty of time to actually get round. Comes through Spoon, corners Martin Gosby, and up towards that sector split. It is 31.988 in the first sector, which is a very competitive time. Maybe not quite as close as Burlak's. He's just dropped a little bit in the second, but I did notice that Burlak's time in the third sector wasn't super duper special, so it could be good for Gosby. He's only a tenth down at the moment. Runs to the line, boom, 0.005 of a second back on the pole position. That is a tiny margin.
That's what I said. It's gonna be close, and it is very close indeed. Gosby just taking that provisional pole position for now. That was his last attempt. So Brojak, he's still got one attempt left to try and get back that position. Michele D'Alessandro for Jean Allais Esport is about to finish his final attempt.
Yeah, he's set a decent first sector. It's an okay middle sector. This is not a great lap for the outgoing world champion. Has the number one on the car for another 3 races, and then it'll be passed over to Jerne Simoncic. Comes around the final corner, and he's going to go across the line. It should be an improvement, but only to 11th, which, to be fair, around here might not be a bad starting position considering the strategy. But will he drop down any further? Mitchell Hoyer begins his final lap. Jeffrey Fournier about to begin his final lap as well. This is where it's all going to be very, very important. Burlak starts his with 10 seconds to go on the clock. Mohammed Patel through the first sector on his final is not good. 32.1 drops over a tenth to Gosby. So not great for the second place finisher last time out. Took so much curb in the first Degner did Robin Panzer. It seemed to work for him though, as he's not that far off in the first sector. We'll have to watch him through the second. It seems like a decent time for the ACR Blue driver, who really came together at Singapore and was the only man to deliver a podium to the doors of ACR in a season that has been so dominant.
Burjak also good first sector, not an improvement on his personal best, but very close to it.
And he's left some time on the table in that final sector as well to Petter Burlak. So potentially some more to gain. Only 3 drivers in the 27.7s, and those are the ones going for that pole position. Robin Panzer across the second sector and heads up to 130R for his final lap. He's dropped a tenth in that middle. It's not going to be a pole time surely for Panzer. What's Burlak got though? Panzer's going to cross the line. I don't think it'll be an improvement. It's not. Burlak through 130R. What's he got? Oh, it's close, but he's dropping away a bit. We'll have to see if that final hooks itself up.
I think it's going to be a bit too little for him, but let's see. Final
Good
corner
exit,
is important.
Good exit. Whacks open the DRS, comes across the line. No. It's not enough. For reference, he did a 27.771, so a very, very strong time. Not good enough for pole, though. Janis Brakshock finishes his session in 7th. Pole 12 months ago. Currently 15th for Sandar Kallas, who's going to come across the line. He's not even going to finish. His second sector was miles off. So that has not worked for him. He was trying on the medium tyres, curiously. Maybe to...
interesting.
Baffling? I don't know. Maybe to do something that I don't quite understand. And that is the session done. So Gosby, yet another pole for ACR. Jerne Simoncic in 4th. By the way, not even worried about that, because if he's going to win the race, he can more than happily come from that position. We saw this at Monza. He qualified in 3rd, had the lead coming down into T1, no worries.
Yeah, indeed. Simoncic is definitely one of those drivers that can still salvage a good result from a relatively bad qualifying. But of course, Monza is easier to overtake than here in Suzuka, so we'll have to wait and see what he is going to do. We've seen in the past as well that the strategy from ACR can sometimes be the dominant one. However, considering that in the last 2 divisions, so the Academy and the Pro Division, earlier today, ACR didn't really have the better strategy compared to teams like Ghost Speed. But considering the first Ghost Speed is only in 6th, I don't know if that is also going to be a worry. We're going to have to wait and see for the race for that.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see if ACR can return to the top step of the podium. Don't forget to join us for the race. It'll be in roughly 10 to 15 minutes' time. And then we'll get the 53-lap Suzuka Grand Prix underway. So we'll see you in a moment.
Hey man, I got that new TMX Thrustmaster wheel. It's going down.
Xbox One?
I can't wait to play when I get home.
You'll let me play?
Yeah, after I play first. Yeah.
You know, I'll race it for it.
So I have a hand.
Well, welcome back to Suzuka as we're in the final preparation stages for the 53-lap Grand Prix ahead. So it's one of the trickiest circuits we visit on the calendar, one that rewards accuracy and really doesn't reward any sort of minor mistake. We currently have Martin Gosby on pole ahead of Petter Burlak, and it's going to be an interesting race for sure, but let's talk a little bit of strategy because it will come into play this afternoon. Mostly in the fact of we're not really too sure if anyone's going to try a risky one-stop in this, or if it's just going to be a standard two-stop. Two-stop was victory last year, but will someone else try something a little bit spooky this year?
Yeah, we've seen in the Academy and Pro race, which normally gives us quite a decent indication as what the teams will do. We saw there that in the Pro race it was a one-stop that won, but a two-stop that was not too far off. Because with the one-stop, I think sadly it did about 34 laps on the medium tires, which is quite a long stretch. So at the end of his stint he really dropped off. And then Mark Hutchinson, who was chasing him on the two-stop, really caught up, I think up to 2 seconds even. So I think here in the World Championship, the one-stop isn't really going to work unless some team makes it work. It's difficult to say beforehand, but I don't think it's going to work. Two-stop probably, so it would be super soft start and then to the mediums and then maybe to a soft, super soft, or maybe double medium. It's a bit depending on how the teams decide to do it and how bad the tire wear is.
Yeah, exactly. I think, like I say, for the most part, I'm just looking at last year's statistics when it comes to the pit stops. A lot of people stopped around, so obviously with different stuff this year, but yeah, still, you can pull some reference. Most people stopped around sort of like lap 16, 17 last season. Mohammed Patel went to lap 22, and that was because he qualified down in 18th place. He got up to finish third that race, by the way, so you can make the alternate strategy work by going longer. So I'd be curious to see if any of those drivers, like D'Alessandro starting outside the top 10, will try and push the alternate strategy. But realistically, for race victory, you're kind of struggling to look anyone past that top 4, aren't you?
Yeah, I think they are definitely the main contenders, but maybe D'Alessandro, like you said, if he gets a really good pace, really good first stint on his mediums, if he starts on the mediums, I think he might be able to at least get up to the top 5-ish. Maybe up to the podium, but I think for the win, it's going to be very difficult for people outside of the top 10 right now. They have the strategy advantage somewhat by having the availability that they can start on the harder tire, but I don't know if it's going to be enough for them if they don't have the raw pace.
Absolutely, it's a circuit that really rewards tire management. Those kind of that goes for anyone starting, even on the alternate strategy. Because on the alternate strategy, despite starting lower on a medium tire, in the traffic, and this is something that I had a conversation with Jeff Fournier after Monza about, and he got angry because everyone was racing so hard on the alternate strategy. And he was like, "Why? What are you trying to gain at this point in the race? You need to stay in line, look after your tires, and think about further in the race and set some decent times and not drop off the rest of the pack." And he's absolutely right. Because on the alternate strategy, you can still wear your tyres out enough that you'd have to pit at the same time as everyone else if you end up pushing too hard. So everyone has to be a little bit careful on tyres because it's around here. You've got the high-speed S section, the heavy braking zones into the hairpin, into T1. That's a long braking zone. You can lock up very easily into that. You've got to be super, super careful on the tyres because you can back yourself into a corner very, very quickly around here.
Yeah, definitely. Right, warm-up has finished, so we will be getting to the start of the race very soon.
Yeah, the true final preparation. Everyone's done their final practice starts, which I'm sure they need to do if they want to beat Jane Simoncic off the line. If you watch his start back in Monza, it was incredible, his translation. This is a circuit where you can translate quite easily, because one thing that TV coverage and this circuit goes against, like, I've never been here, but there was something that I realised with the circuit is, obviously the run down towards turn 1 is downhill. Right, which actually means you've got different. It's different than how other circuits are with how you basically start, because the car will move a lot quicker off the line naturally. because it's downhill. But it's just how steep that run is down towards turn 1. It is so much steeper than the TV makes it look. The way you look at that is when you've got that camera that looks from T1 down towards the start grid, look at the pit lane and look at how staggered it is. It is so, like, such big steps on it. And that is the moment that I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I can remember quite vividly when I first went to the Spa, the Francorchamps track. The elevation changes between La Source and then Eau Rouge and then up to Radion is so incredible, which I never really realized when driving on it on the virtual track. And also, for example, Pouhon is really far downhill, which I thought was just basically playing flat in rFactor and on the sim.
Yeah, we're not saying that it's not actually represented from the track build. It's just you just don't realise it when you're flying around at 300 and God knows what kilometres an hour. I had the same thing at Brands Hatch. That's a lot more hilly than I expected. But either way, taking on the undulations of the circuit, we are ready to go for the formation lap, and Gosby's leading us away from Burlak, Panzar and Simoncic. So ACR's all over the place at the front, and that's what Burlak has to contend with if he's going to go for back-to-back victories today. And that's one thing that I have noticed with Peter Burlak, and I have brought it up on previous broadcasts before. Once he takes that first win, the second one normally follows pretty soon. Ricardo Costa in fifth position. Lukaszek and Bradshaw, keep an eye on them because they were the ones that made the, well, not them, but GoSpeed made the alternate strategy or a differing strategy work to good effect in the previous races today. So keep an eye on them. Mohamed Patel in 8th, as I said, got onto the podium here last season. Last victory at this circuit 2 years ago. Jeffrey Fournier in 9th position, and David Mrocek rounding out the top 10. Michi Hoyer, after that incident with Jone Simoncic, costing him a race victory, potentially. Probably don't want to repeat that. He's going to start from 11th, the first position on the differing tyre strategy. Michele D'Alessandro, race victor last year at this circuit, last year's world champion, the outgoing one, the number one on his car, I say, being passed over to Jone Simoncic in a few rounds' time. Jos Araneda in 13th position, Sandar Kallas in 14th, Yuri Kazdorp in 50th. Actually, had a really good run in Singapore. The results doesn't quite show it, but he had a really good run. Stephen Michaels in 16th, Danny van der Neet in 17th, Bojan Bogdanov in 18th, and rounding out the finishers on the grid, Daniel Kish, who actually finished on the podium here last season with a really, really good drive. I think it was to second position. Yeah. So a very, very solid drive for the Hungarians. Actually his first podium of the season last year. So
yeah, keep an eye on him. He actually led the race for, I think, like 75% of it, and then at the end he got overtaken by Michele D'Alessandro. They battled for the lead in the last few laps, and then D'Alessandro eventually came out on top. But he's definitely a driver that sometimes is a bit underrated. He's very quick. Sometimes just doesn't really show it, or doesn't have the luck coming his way.
Any driver on this grid is incredibly fast. The margins are super tight. Cameron Rodger, by the way, the 20th runner, decided to drop commentary duties today to start from the pit lane for the World Championship Grand Prix for flag to flag. So, well, we'll see what he could do. Gosby preparing to line himself on the grid. I would be hesitant to, but I am still going to. Who do you think is going to be standing on the top step in a couple of hours' time?
I think it's going to be... let's go crazy. Let's say Robin Panzer.
Robin Panzer, my goodness.
He deserves one.
My goodness me, Robin Panzer. That would be a story and a half. ACR would be back on top, but it wouldn't be the ones that we would expect. Cameron Rodger going to come to the end of the pit lane as Daniel Kish going to be the last one to line up in that 19th grid spot at the back. We look at the drivers as they stare all the way down this very, very steep hill. Martin Gosby ahead of Burlak, Panzar and Simoncic directly behind. And who's going to get the best start with the 5 lights on? And away we go in a shocking turn of events. It is Simoncic's actually got a pretty decent start. He's going to get up into 3rd position. But Robert, look at Peter Burlak. Going to be down the inside and probably up into the lead as he's hooking that inside. You made that work absolutely brilliantly as Peter Burlak. Martin Gosby down to 2nd. Jone Simoncic has got up to 3rd. Lukaszek up into 5th position under attack from Ricardo Costa, who's trying to go for 4th on Panzer, though, into the S's section. So Lukaszek for GoSpeed had a decent start, but Burlak's going to be leading away And he's going to be clearing off from Martin Gosby at a rapid rate of knots if he possibly can. Try to make that slipstream work. I see down the order, Stephen Michaels, Jos Araneda, Bojan Bogdanov have all had incidents and have dropped further down, so it's not worked out for them. No real big movers apart from Jeffrey Fournier, dropped down to 10th position. So no real winners or losers too big up and down the order on that first lap. So it's a pretty clean start for them for the most part.
Is it me? Or does it show Simoncic? No, never mind. It showed Simoncic on the hard still, but it's corrected now. Just a small rFactor bug, don't mind me. But indeed, great start for Peter Boljak up to first place. We'll be looking to extend his lead now. And Simoncic will also, I think, be trying to get past Gosby as soon as possible. But let's see how quickly he can do that, or if Gosby will give him a bit of a fight here.
No team orders at ACR. We've discussed that over various points of the season. See how wide Martin Gosby runs at 130R, but he's using that slipstream for Peter Boljak to good effect. No team orders, but remember that maybe Jene Simoncic might pay Martin Gosby a little bit of a favour here by not fighting, because those top two are battling for second in the championship and only 9 points separates them with 3 races to go. You know, you might want to do your teammate a little favour. But, well, there is no favours in motorsport, really. Come on. Oh, where's D'Alessandro going at T1? Straight on and down to 12th. Loses position to Mitchell. I think he might have actually tried an overtake there and just went straight on. That's why he jumped up and then back down. So I don't think he actually lost anything. Sander Callis has made a good start up into 13th, avoiding some incidents.
Now let's have a quick look at what happened to D'Alessandro then. They are coming into turn 1, indeed, with Mitchie Hoyer battling. Around the outside he went. They make contact. No contact made. D'Alessandro just went wide a bit too quickly into turn 1 on the outside line. Not a lot of rubber there. And then had to concede a position, or at least not overtake Mitchie Hoyer.
Yeah, very tricky to get around the outside there on rFactor at present with the rubbered in line. And that'll actually get harder and harder as the race goes on, because that rubbered in line will actually, realistically, will get thinner and thinner as there is more grip on that tiny strip. Basically, the outside line just becomes less and less viable as the race goes on. Jene Simoncic not quite able to keep up with Gosby, but we've seen this plenty of times from him. It's one thing that I have noticed from the World Championship so far this season, a trend that we have, is the top lot don't really fight until after that first pit stop, and then things go crazy. So if you're not seeing too much action, don't fear too much at the moment, because people will be in fuel saving, engine saving mode. Just to keep things in check. There'll be a couple trying to move their way up the order, though, for sure. But this thing will be like a pressure cooker, and once it goes off, there is no stopping it.
Yes, for sure. Lukacek is trying to put some pressure on Pantsar in front of him. Pantsar dropping slightly back from the back of Jene Simoncic and Martin Gosby.
The Swede, though, he's done a remarkable job this season, realistically. I mean, in the consideration of the teammates that he's been up against, yes, he's not been on the podium as much as they have, but he has still been on the podium 3 times in the World Championship. Maybe overshadowed by how strong his teammates have been, but at the same time, Pantsar currently in 4th in the standings, not really that far off Gosby and Boljak, to be honest. So yeah, he's done a very, very solid job, a very commendable job, has Robin Pantsar in 2019. And looking to add maybe another decent finish later on this afternoon. Depends on what he can do. We've got that string of cars. We'll read out the top 10, because why not? They are not the order they've started in, but they are the same top 10, just maybe a little bit spread out. Boljak, Gosby, Simoncic, Pantsar and Lukacek are that top 5 that are all ahead of Costa Patel, who's done a solid job. Janis Brakshok, David Mrocek and Jeffrey Fournier, who's very close to the back of David Mrocek, by the way, for that final position in the top 10. Mitchie Hoyer just struggling to keep up on those medium tyres at the moment, or the hard tyres, the hardest of those. Jeffrey Fournier, no, he's just not closing up enough in that HME or Miller. Recipient of that massive 40-second time penalty back in Singapore, though. Doesn't want to repeat that offence. D'Alessandro also dropping off of Hoyer. Danny van den Eek, by the way, the only one outside of the top 10 who's actually started or chosen to start on the soft compound tyre. Or the super softs, rather, the red wall tyre. So he's further down the order, currently in 14th at the moment. Not actually making the progress you would suspect point. The dirty air will cause quite a lot of thermal degradation on the front tyres. He's directly behind teammate Sandar Callas in 13th, so just not making the progress that he'd probably want to just yet. Everyone's separating out, though. About a second gaps between the top lap. It's 9/10 between Gosby Burlak, same gap between Simoncic and Gosby. But one thing that we will know about those two in particular is how well they are controlled on pace. Remember back to Monza and Singapore, even they control their pace to a point where towards the end of the stint they really start setting the fast lap times, and they can get back into the PBs, into even the fast laps of the race later in the stint, even with high tyre wear circuit. So very impressive ability, but look at Burlak pulling away at the top end.
Yeah, already extended the gap so far that Martin Gosby doesn't have any DRS anymore. And he has to watch out that Simoncic doesn't overtake him. I guess, like you said, it would be smart of them to get Gosby or keep Gosby in front. But maybe Björn just wants another win. I don't think he's had enough so far this season, so just go for another one.
There's one thing that I know about racers, and that's coming from a racer myself, and I'm sure you're in the same kind of boat. You never get bored of winning.
Of course.
If you've won 10 times in a season, and you're in that 11th race of the season, or in this case the 12th race of the season, you've won 8 times, you're sat there, you don't want someone else to beat you, because you've got 8 wins. And yes, 8 wins, like you kind of sit there and you think, yes, but 8 wins, that's great. That's a great season. You've already won the World Championship. What more do you have to prove? At the same time, in the back of your head, you're sat there thinking, nah, I don't want anyone else to rack up some wins. I want this to be my season. I want to show how good I am. It is egotistical, but that's exactly what we do. So,
Yeah, exactly.
Never, ever get bored of winning.
Right.
Unfortunately, people like me don't really win that much, so...
Petar still extending that gap. Last lap was personal best and also session best, 32.9. This lap is going to be a little bit slower, 33.4.
Just lost a tenth.
Yeah. Still, that gap is over a second, so he's probably controlling it a little bit now, keeping Gosby outside of the DRS, making sure he can't save any fuel or tires behind him. And then the strategy is going to start playing part in the next, I would say, 4 to 5 laps. We saw the first pit stops in Pro around lap 9. Perhaps these drivers are gonna go a bit longer than that, considering the race is 10 laps longer as well.
I'd be surprised if they weren't trying to stretch it out just a little bit further. I said these guys, they know. This is the thing, is you have to be a jack of all trades to fight in the World Championship. You have to be good on tyres, but still quicker than anyone else. It's an insane balance. You also got to be juggling fuel mileage and everything else, and making sure that you're not picking up too much understeer from the car ahead, and change obviously brake bias and stuff, which is a pretty common change in sim racing. Brake bias adjustments through the race. That's not that odd, but at the same time, when you've got everything else to juggle as well, it does become a bit of a nightmare. I noticed in a race that I did not too long ago, where there was fuel management in it, to have that extra thing to think about when you're having change dials and change buttons, change fuel mixtures and stuff. It is that extra thing to think about that just kind of throws you off, because you'll go down and you'll think, I've changed it to mix 1. Does that mean that the braking zone's changed? No, of course it's not, because I'm still doing the same speed. But that little doubt in your mind will throw you off. Obviously not with these boys, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Ricardo Costa, the fastest on that lap, currently in P6, just closing up a little bit to Lukaszek, but this, realistically, everyone in the top 10 still in this same train. Mitchell Hoyer just clinging on to the back of it. Now, he's actually brought himself back up to it by pulling away from McGlade D'Alessandro, so either one, he's using quite a lot of his tyres to do so, and D'Alessandro's well in control of what he's doing, or Hoyer actually has some very impressive pace at the moment.
Yeah, it could be that Hoyer has just got good pace. If he does, I think he's in a very good spot. If he can stretch these tires for like 20, maybe a little bit more laps, he is in a good position to at least maybe battle for the top 5-ish positions. All depends a bit on how the pit stop phases end up and what the strategy is going to be of the front runners. But I think Hoyer, with keeping up to this train, He's put himself in a good position.
Yeah, I'll just give you a reminder. I can't actually tell you what tyres that he was on, but last season, D'Alessandro and Kirsch both pitted on lap 17. Mohammed Patel, who was on that alternate strategy, started in P18, pitted on lap 22 for reference. And then pitted again lap 38, so I think he went on the softer compound tyre in that middle stint, but really brought himself into contention. If Michi Hoyer's kind of on that same kind of boat, he's really keeping up well. Bit of a mistake there at the Casio Triangle on the rear end, though.
First to pit, Ricardo Costa. Comes into the pit lane hot. Tires locking, smoking. Let's see what he's going to do. I assume it's going to be the mediums. Let's see him wait. Yes, indeed, mediums for him.
No one else a taker in the pit lane. But Sandar Callas has just got by McGlade D'Alessandro around the outside of T1. That was an impressive move, I'll tell you that. Sandar Callas bit between his teeth, trying to move his way up the order, and with D'Alessandro maybe struggling on pace a little bit at the moment, Sandar saw his opportunity and took it. So Ricardo Costa's dropped to absolute last position on the previous lap as well. Jos Araneda exited the race to add to his retirement list. I'm pretty sure he's doing a collectible Pokemon deck for retirements this season. Has had a fair few. That would actually be his 7th retirement of 2019, 3rd in a row after a really good finish in Belgium. Actually finished 4th at Spa. Not working out at this circuit though.
I'm going to see if I can find what happened to him. Just quickly gonna hop into the replay. So here we are watching Jos Araneda. Let's go on board. Ooh, what happened there? Did he try to go around the outside of somebody? Car still going. Doesn't seem too bad. Still has his front wing as well, I believe. Might be a bug that the front wing is actually gone, but I can't see. No, he takes Dunlop in 6th. I would say that you wouldn't be able to do that without a front wing. This might be a bit too early. Let's go to this second. This is a lap later, I think. Ooh, yes, indeed. Lap later, and Dunlop just spun the rear around, front into the wall, and then another time hard into the wall. That's the end of his race, indeed.
So, yeah, as you say, at the end of the Japanese Grand Prix. One thing to note, though, Lukaszek, by the way, P17, Lukaszek has come into the pit lane, taken the medium tyres, come out ahead of Ricardo Costa. So does stay ahead, reacted very, very quickly. But Costa was very close at T1. That was just happening whilst we were checking out that replay. Lukaszek now up into 17th. Danny Van Der Neet also has been into the pit lane, now in P19 on the medium tyres after starting on the Redwall Supersofts. See if Lukaszek can keep Costa behind. They're going to catch the Bojan Bogdanov shortly, which could cost a little bit of time. We'll see if any other drivers in that top lots start to come down pit lane. It's actually caused a huge void between the back of Panzar and the front of Mohammed Patel. A massive, massive void there as Patel's moved up into the top 5. Burlak into the pit lane, Gosby into the pit lane. Yoni Simic stays out, so does Panzar, Patel, Brakjok, Mrocek comes in though as well. Jeffrey Fournier and Hoyer stays out, obviously, on the medium compound tyre. So 4 people in the pit lane, Burlak, Gosby, Mrocek and Fournier. Indicates that potentially at least Simoncic and Panzar will be into the pit lane. I also suggest Patel as well, considering they're on the same kind of stuff that Petr Burlak will be. Where do they come out in comparison to Ricardo Costa and Wojciech Lukaszek?
Well in front.
Plenty ahead. As Lukaszek's going to clear Bogdanov. Good move. Nice and easy one. Ricardo Costa wasn't quite as fortunate. Oh, big slide though at T2. Massive slide for Ricardo Costa. Very, very good car control. Looked very good. Very Shane Van Gisbergen-esque, mate. Nice one. Next car up the road for Petr Burlak is his teammate Daniel Kish, but I think that pit lane is actually... I think actually Gosby and Burlak were pretty much identical through that pit lane, but it does look like Gosby's just a little bit more in control of what's going on at the moment, so maybe that gap will close back up again. Very early pit stops though.
Yeah, what I'm interested in now is the gap between Hoyer and Brojak is rather big. So Hoyer can probably keep or stay out on his medium tires for at least another 10 laps and maybe more. It will be an interesting strategy if he might be able to challenge for the top 5 even. He can make that work.
All the top 4 in.
Daniel Kish battling with Cameron Rodger there a little bit. Kish in 130R going wide slightly. Now Cameron has to get a good exit if he doesn't want to lose the position to Kish. Almost losing the back there coming out of the last corner.
Yeah, his teammate's going to be catching quick if he keeps that kind of antics up. Peter Burlak goes back ahead of Jene Simoncic, where Simoncic's going to come out. Same, pretty much line and full. Wow, Lukaszek's made some good progress, though. He's come out ahead of Robin Panzar. So is Ricardo Costa. So Panzar's the big loser there. Not worked out for Robin Panzar just yet. Comes up behind Ricardo Costa, behind Lukaszek, and they are a fair way behind Jene Simoncic. So that's pitting a lap later. So he pitted on the same lap as Jene Simoncic. It's just, I don't know. Maybe
a slow pit
lane.
stop. Yeah, let's quickly look at the times. I should have them available. Simoncic did 22 pit lane time. Panzer also 22 pit lane time and a 4-second stop. So I don't know.
Curious.
Maybe something happened before that. Not entirely certain.
Well, either way, it's left the what would be the top 3,
Patel.
P8, P9 and P10.
Sorry,
We look
Patel
at
and
Mohamed Patel.
Bogdanov.
Oh, up towards Spoon. Oh, it's contact. Yeah, no, Patel moved across that. I saw it like, whoa, that was dodgy. You have to get a replay of that one.
I will do. Let's have a look. I think they were side by side for quite a bit there. Let's have a quick peek. This was out of the pits for Patel. Might have to go a bit forward. Yes, Bogdanov made a slight mistake, I think, out of the first sector, out of Dunlop. Yes, Patel made the dive into the hairpin. Then they were side by side coming out of it. Go on board with Patel.
I think going on board with Bogdanov might give you a better picture.
Here we go. Yeah, indeed. Not a lot of space given there by Mohamed Patel, the English driver. And Bogdanov losing a few positions because of that.
I think by the rule structure, it may well have just been legal, because I think Bogdanov did have a little bit more room on the right-hand side, but that kind of like fairly vicious move back over to the right-hand side from Patel was what really threw Bogdanov off a little bit of a rub. I say that's up to the instant report and what happens past that. But either way, that's dropped Bogdanov down into P18, which is not where he wanted to be, but still a solid drive so far. Back up towards the front, and Hoyer completes another lap out in the lead, as does the rest of the top 7 yet to pit. But Peter Burlak is closing in on his teammate. Just a reminder of who that top 7 are. Hoyer, Callas, D'Alessandro, Kasdorp, Michaels, Rodger and Kish. All yet to stop in this Japanese Grand Prix. Martin Gosby's closing back up to Peter Burlak, as is Simoncic. All three pulling away from Lukaszek as well.
Yeah, Peter Burlak is in a good position right now. His teammate will, I hope, at least for him, not battle him too much coming up in the next few laps. And then after that, of course, Gosby will have to pass Daniel Kish as well. But if Daniel Kish is smart, he will defend a little bit harder against Gosby than he will against his teammate. And that will cause him to lose a little bit of time, of course. They still have to get past Cameron Rodger and Stephen Michaels after that. But at least we'll give him a little bit of an edge.
Ha! Edge. Good one. This is what caused issues back in Singapore, was drivers trying to clear traffic. Around here, it's kind of hard to say if it's easier or harder, because I'd say the difficulty level is the same. It's a different challenge because the corners are all much higher speed. Because at Singapore, you just never have the run to actually make a move. However, around here, you've always got the corners to get the run, but never the downforce to do so, because it's obviously been taken off from the car ahead. Bojan Bogdanov, by the way, has joined the retirement list of Jos Araneda and has departed the Japanese Grand Prix early. Sandor Callas closing up to Michi Hoyer, by the way, at the top end of the field. Just bit by bit, actually setting personal laps. Sandor Callas and McGlade D'Alessandro over the last few laps, so very much in control of their tyres. I did wonder if Michi Hoyer was potentially pushing a little bit too hard in the earlier parts of the race. Now, oh, sorry, that was a huge moment from Sandor Callas. Coming up through Dunlop, just a little bit too wide, clipped the white line. I don't know how he saved it. I really don't. That was impressive car control for the NetRex driver. But still in control he is. Wow. Yeah, that cost him quite a bit of time, though, I'll tell you that.
So Peter Broljak has caught up right up to the back of his teammate right now, and Martin Gosby isn't far away. The gap between Broljak and Gosby is really close down to 7/10 now. It was over a second before. So here we go. Kish surely gonna let him past here.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a lift there, I think. Coming out of Spoon. Comes up towards 130R. Daniel Kish pulls to the left-hand side. There's going to be a slight lift. There he is. Going to drop straight back in line and back into the slipstream. Maybe balk Martin Gosby a little bit here into the Casio Triangle. Gosby's just having a look. Not quite going to work, but I think Gosby will actually clear Daniel Kish pretty swiftly into turn one with superior grip, maybe a little bit more straight line speed. They're both going to run out wide to the exit of the circuit. Keep an eye on Gosby, the ACR car directly behind Daniel Kish, the Edge Esports driver. He's not closing up quick enough. No. The DRS working to good effect on Daniel Kish's car. So currently both Edge Esports cars ahead of both ACRs. Very impressive team control there. Daniel Kish, say, being the smart driver, just dropping in behind his teammate, trying to help him out a little bit here. And now he's going to try and separate that gap.
Simucic is also not too far behind him now. And Alessandro is still trying to get past Kalash as well.
I think he's not trying too hard to get past Kalash, because I think he's just trying to let him try and re-catch Michi Hoyer, because he knows that they're both quicker than Hoyer at the moment. Of course, McGlade D'Alessandro, a world champion. Same, so we'll use his head, smarts driver. Same as like Mohamed Patel, Petr Burlak. These are all people who have been world champions, and now, of course, Jene Simucic. All drivers that know how to think out a race and how to make it work for them. And that's what makes you a world champion, is basically using other people to get better results. It's great fun. Not that I am a world champion, obviously not. Fastest lap, fastest sectors of their race coming in at the moment, by the way. Yuri Kazdorp setting some decent times, loses quite a bit in the final sector though, but setting some PBs at the moment in P4. So he had a good run back in Singapore. Obviously his result doesn't quite show that, but again, it seems like he's running quite well here at Suzuka, is Yuri Kazdorp. More of a GT and endurance driver, but showing himself pretty handy in open wheelers as well at Frammy Autosport. Martin Gosby still yet to get by Daniel Kish, by the way, P9. He remains. Lukaszek dragging his way back up to this fight as well. So Go Speed pulling back into contention with HME or Miller not too far behind. ACR Blues, Robin Panzar as well, with all the work to get by Costa and Lukaszek, but still not out of reach of that race lead. The thing is, the way I see it, as long as you keep your eye on who's leading the race, you're happy. Because, you can see them. We're at the early point in the race. You know that at some point things might happen. Strategy, you're within touching distance, and that's the important bit at this point.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, strategy can still change anything. As it seems now, everybody's on the same strategy. The entire field is on the medium tire right now. Well, single driver on a different tire and on a different strategy for that, for how that goes. But of course, there's still two phases. Just under half of the field started on the medium tires. And the rest started on the supers and is now on the fresher mediums. Gonna be interesting to see how this plays out when the second round of stops comes around.
Sandor Callas took nearly 4/10 out of Michi Hoyer on the previous laps, close to 1.6, pulled away from McGlade D'Alessandro as well, whilst setting a fastest, or a PB rather, first sector for D'Alessandro, for Sandor Callas, showing that there's still pace in that car. Responding to that though in the first sector, Michi Hoyer sets a faster first sector than even Callas did. So maybe Michi Hoyer controlling things at the front.
Yeah, perhaps. What catches my eye is that Burjak isn't flying away from Daniel Kish that much as I would have expected. Perhaps he's saving a bit of his tires, saving a bit of his fuel, because he knows that he's got the safety behind, that he's not going to get overtaken by his teammate.
Yeah, it could be pretty smart giving your teammate DRS to make sure he stays ahead of Gosby and Simoncic.
Yeah.
So yeah, could be very, very smart there for Burlak.
Only thing that plays into the hands of the guys in front of him slightly, especially Michi Hoyer, Sandor Callas and Michele D'Alessandro will lose a little bit less in the pit stop because of that, because the whole train is backed up slightly.
Oh, Martin Gosby though catches Daniel Kish this time on the run down towards turn 1. Daniel Kish going to come to the inside and go defensive. I think that's not really going to work for Gosby, trying to go around the outside. Oh, he's going to give it a go. There's going to be less grip around the outside. No. That's very nicely done by Daniel Kish. Very much a committed line though for Martin Gosby. That's going to cost Kish just a little bit of time though to his teammate Burlak. I wonder if Burlak will fill in the gaps and allow his teammate to re-catch up, keep him in DRS. Because had he not had DRS at that point, Daniel Kish was a goner.
Yeah, just enough room given as well by Daniel Kish. Last year we had Journey Simoncic and Dylan Scrivens, who was doing a replacement drive for, I believe it was Mohammed Patel that year. And they made contact, and that eventually ended up in the DNF for Journey Simoncic, which allowed Michele D'Alessandro to take the championship that year. This time around, Gosby and Daniel Kish actually get around it safely, but no overtake yet for Gosby.
But I think now as Peter Burlak's pulling away, I think at the end of the second sector split, that might be more than a second. As they come across it, just over. So no DRS potentially for this time for Daniel Kish, which will leave him wide open, which maybe is not the best line for Peter Burlak. He is right on the back of Cameron Rodger now. So potentially now we're going to see two moves down into T1. Oh, very, very wide there for Daniel Kish. That's it. It's going to be straight by. Easy peasy. Nothing that Gosby really has to do in that one. Kish just couldn't put the power down on the exit of the corner. Journey Simoncic is not quite close enough. Peter Burlak's got through on Cameron Rodger just ahead. So up into 6th position. So once again, there is a car between Burlak and Gosby. And just a reminder to you, watching at home, that this is important between Burlak and Gosby because second in the championship is on the line. Currently 9 points separates them in the championship. So really nothing between Gosby and Burlak with this race and 2 others remaining on the calendar. Burlak currently ahead, and currently ahead in the race as well. And also it does affect things in their team standing as well, because Edge Esports will be taking points off of ACR Blue. Speaking of ACR Blue, Robin Panzar just got past David Morocek down in 14th. He's just not made any progress in that. He's behind Mohammed Patel though on the run up towards Spoon. I think there was a bit of a moving around position wise, but either way he's got by his teammate. That's
must have made a mistake somewhere. He
was right behind Costa and Lukaszek.
Yeah, but not behind Patel. Patel either got past him or overcut him, maybe. I don't know.
Nah, Mohammed Patel wasn't ahead on the pit stop, around the pit stop area. Sandor Callas into the pit lane. There we go. First bite from the top end. They were closing in because Michele D'Alessandro is only 1.9 behind Michi Hoyer. So Yuri Kasdorp also bites the opportunity to run his way down pit lane. So does Cameron Rodger, and going by Stephen Michaels is Peter Burlak. Remember what happened back in Singapore where Burlak really didn't have to overtake any of the drivers on the alternate strategy? They all just pitted directly in front of him.
Yeah.
I'm sure it didn't annoy Jane Simicic at all. But through this, he's pulled a good 2.5 seconds to nearly 2 seconds over Martin Gosby. What is important, though, is that through this, actually, Michi Hoyer's been able to keep the gap. First sector, though, outside of traffic, and to the surprise of quite literally no one, Peter Berlak sets the fastest first sector of the entire race, and by 1.5 seconds quicker than McGlade D'Alessandro.
Watch Ricardo Costa, Mohamed Patel, and Daniel Kish battling very closely, almost 3 wide, coming up to Spoon now.
Oh, a bit of grass on the outside, though. Oh, he's going to go around the outside of Ricardo Costa. Oh, he's going to be too wide, maybe onto the curb. Going to cut back to the inside, and that makes that one stick. That was a fantastic move. Daniel Kish just keeping Mohamed Patel behind, but they're going to be side by side towards 130 yard. Daniel Kish will back out of this one, no problem whatsoever. But Robin Panzar's coming as well, and he's going to make another move. Oh, Daniel Kish moves over to try and defend and says no thank you to that one. As Michi Hoyer enters the pit lane, Daniel Kish keeps 10th position ahead of Robin Panzar. Just for now, David Marocek, the rear gunner for Robin Panzar for the ACR Blue contingent. Now Kish is just costing lots of time as he jumps down pit lane. D'Alessandro and Michaels also in pit lane. Now everyone from that top lot has come down to pit lane, but Marocek's going to go past his teammate now. P7.
Oh, Patel on the grass coming into turn 1.
Oh my goodness.
Everything kicking off now.
D'Alessandro.
DNF. Not sure what happened there. Disconnection perhaps.
Just pulls into the garage. Pulls into the garage and escapes.
Okay, I guess he wasn't happy how the race went so far. Michi Hoyer down in 12th position. But everything kicking off now, especially here in the midfield.
Michi Hoyer won't be disappointed with being in P12 right now after leading quite a lot of the early part of the race and showing some really, really good pace, and also not being too far off the back end of the point. So things could work out for Michi Hoyer this afternoon. Sander Callas in the same kind of boat. By the way, through that, Sander Callas absolutely jumped Michi Hoyer by a good margin as well. So Sander Callas now the head of those starting on that alternate strategy. I'd love to get a word from McGlade D'Alessandro as to why he decided to enter the pit lane and retire from the race. Things just not working out for the Jean Alesi Esports Academy driver. So race victor last year at the Suzuka circuit. Not in 2019 though. Berlak leads the way by 1.6 seconds over Martin Gosby, Jane Simicic. Those lots just spreading out. They will probably close up through this stint. Lukaszek just clinging on as best he can in 4th. Ricardo Costa, Patel not too far behind him. Marocek, Panzar, Brakshock and Fournier rounding out that top 10. I must say Ricardo Costa's doing a very good job at the moment in 5th.
Also somebody that hasn't been talked about much really. Lukaszek doing a great job in 4th. Haven't really seen much of him during the race. But events have... well, he's been doing well so far.
Yeah, I mean, the talk... I spoke about this back in Singapore. Because the talk...
Costa.
Costa! That's Patel through. That's Marocek through. Panzar, too far back. Dropped 2 positions from that mistake. But look at this between Marocek and Patel. Patel... Oh, no, Marocek backed out of that one. He wasn't sure which way Patel was going to go as they head up towards Spoon Corner. So Patel in 5th. Just hangs on to that from ACR Blues, David Marocek and Ricardo Costa. But yeah, I was just saying, back in Singapore, Lukaszek really moved his way into contention for the race victory. It didn't work out in the end, naturally, on the alternate strategy. We were thinking for quite a lot that he might have been able to win that race. When all the talk was of his teammate Janis Brakshock, Lukaszek really fired his way back up, and it seems to be happening again as Brakshock's down in 9th position. Lukaszek's up in 4th, doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, definitely is. But going down the inside of the straight already.
Breaking that slipstream, but it's not quite going to work as here comes David Marocek to the outside. Going to try and go all the way around, but is Patel going to push him out wide? They're still side by side on the exit. There's just a little bit of a rub, but nothing too much. David Marocek not able to get right. He wasn't really there. I don't think he would have been able to do it.
Yeah, Mohamed Patel definitely isn't a driver that you can get past easily. I can speak out of experience there. He's somebody that if he really wants his position, he's gonna fight for it with tooth and nail.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of racing Mohammed Patel in some touring cars last year. It was an interesting experience. I do like Mohammed Patel though, he's a good lad. Of course, number 11 on his car signifying that he was a previous world champion back in 2017, so a couple of years ago now. And just as, again, a reminder, was on the podium for the first time in a year last time out, and his last race victory in the World Championship came at this venue back in that World Championship year of 2017. So it's been a good track to him. But on this occasion, running in 5th, having to basically defend like his life depends on it from Ricardo Costa and David Mrocek. Just as an update on the lead, it's the second, basically separates the 2 ACR cars, but Yannick Simic just kind of leaving Gosby to do the work to catch Burlak. He's been doing a pretty decent job, just not quite enough. He was a 10th quicker on the last lap, so it was coming down very, very, very slowly. 23 laps completed, 30 to go. Fastest lap at the moment, Daniel Kish down in 17th in a complete world of his own. Just trying to keep an eye as well on the alternate strategy runners. Sander Callas going to be closing up towards the back of Jeffrey Fournier as this lot are all battling. We've seen the battling between Patel and Mrocek and Costa, and this lot of Panzer, Brackjock, Fournier not too far behind either. Probably a bit balked by what's going on. Mitchy Hoyas managed to close all the way out to the back of Sandar Callas and moving his way back into contention for points. Danny Van Den Neet a second and a bit behind. Of course, started on the super softs, but started from outside the top 10. Was the only man to do so. Currently running on a medium tyre, so he's actually been running on longer than most others. Stephen Michael's fastest first sector. He had a good run back in Hockenheim. Did the flag-to-flag driver right behind his teammate, Cameron Rodger. So maybe he'll move his way back up to this line, but we keep an eye on the top lot. It's now 1.3 for the lead, 1.3 separating the top 3, so 1.3 between 1 and 2, 1 and 3 between 2 and 3.
Callas going for the move on Jeffrey Fournier now, up the inside into turn 1. Straight
Easily
forward.
done.
Yeah.
Jeff didn't really fight that one too much. It's kind of hard to think of the longer picture, though, isn't it? When you're doing a race of this, even of this length, to think of the bigger picture and what you can gain later, and who you should be fighting, who you shouldn't be, who's on a different strategy to you. It's hard to keep that all in your head, but it's one of these things that's very necessary for a lot of these drivers. When you've got more experience than me on that field. Will Mitchy Hoyer be able to get past Jeffrey Fournier in the same way, though? Because Fournier, for the last couple of races, he's not looked in that same form that he had in the earlier part of the season. He's just not really pieced it together quite as well as maybe others would expect. Others being mainly me. Obviously, I'm pretty sure his good friend Chris Shepherd will be watching this, so hello. We love chatting about Jeff and ripping into him, but at the moment, running up to 130R, Mitchy Hoyer is going to be closing, lifts out of it before they get to it. Oh, he's going to run wide a little bit. Oh, that was close.
Yeah, a lot of understeer there. Dirty air, obviously a big effect on these cars, especially when you go through 130R with 310 kilometers an hour. But that means Hoyer really lost out for a possible attempt coming into turn 1. Has to now try to set himself up for the next lap, or perhaps somewhere else on this lap.
You'd have to wake up very, very early, though, to catch Jeffrey Fournier out. A man who basically did most of his experience in sim racing, whether it's through Race 07 or an rFactor or however, mostly in touring car racing. So, you know, he's elbows out and all that. And that's where me and him came to clashes in previous years. We're okay now because we don't race each other. But if I were to race him, we'd have a big problem. But he's very wise to moves coming. So Michi Hoyer would have to really throw it down at a very crazy place to catch him out. Not quite there though. Everyone just kind of holding station whilst we're on this second stint of the Japanese Grand Prix. And things, as I say, this it's a bit like a pressure cooker. Once it goes, it will go. And it will go with a rapid pace as well. The top three, as an FYI, have absolutely blistered away from the rest of the field. They're currently, Jone Simicic is 4 and a bit seconds clear of Lukaszek in 4th, who is putting in a very good drive, but is going to be coming under pressure from Mohamed Patel and David Rodger, who's closing in on Mohamed Patel. I don't think he's going to be close enough into T1 though. Oh, there's a move though. Ricardo Costa and Robin Panzer. Panzer up to 7th. Easy on the DRS. It's now going to leave Ricardo Costa open to Janis Brakshock. So both HME or Millers dropping backwards in this race. Still 1.5 between the other. I'm curious as to how much all of these lot are controlling. Because the thing is Burlak controlling this or is Gosby controlling this? It's very hard to know at this stage. Because the thing is, when you're running in P2, if you know you've got the pace to match or even respond to P1, i.e. in this case Gosby to Burlak, and you're kind of controlling things, you know, you can sit back, you can drop off a couple of tenths, make sure that you know you can keep an eye on him, you're keeping that gap the same. Burlak will be looking at that thinking maybe, oh, well, I'm keeping the gap the same. I'm doing really well at the moment. I'm hitting all my apexes. I'm doing all this. Whereas Gosby might be in more control. Of course, the same could be said the other way round. And only time will tell on that one. Gosby, a multiple winner this season. Peter Burlak knocked up his first back in the Singapore Grand Prix just a few weeks ago. And just holding station at the top end. Same with Jone Simicic behind. I'm sure there are a lot of answers. Ricardo Costa hits the pit lane. And Michi Hoyer is going to take Jeffrey Fournier here on the run down towards turn 1. As is, oh, look at this up ahead. Janis Brakshock and Sandor Kallas going side by side. A little bit of contact there between Kallas and Brakshock. Just a little bit, a little brush, and Kallas not able to get by. Janis Brakshock holds P8. Sandor Kallas P9. Michi Hoyer up into P10. Jeffrey Fournier P11. Robin Panzer on the last lap sets his personal best lap of the race of 32.6, currently in that P7, just trying to pull away from that battle that we've just seen. Now 2 seconds between Robin Panzer and Janis Brakshock. Of course, important to note for the team standings, ACR Blue currently ahead of Edge Esports, but Edge Esports currently leading this race. Peter Burlak ahead. Daniel Kirsch down in 16th place at the moment, though, the other Edge Esports driver, while Mrocek and Panzer are running 6th and 7th. And Jone Simicic comes through the final chicane. Again, massively pulling away from Lukaszek. I wonder if Lukaszek's struggling at the moment. We'll have a look at his pace. On the previous lap, Lukaszek's done a 33.5. On this lap, crosses the line, does a 33.7. Car directly behind 33.7, but on the previous lap, Mohamed Patel did a 33.2. Janis Brakshock hits the pit lane for Ghost Speed.
His second stop already, pretty early, I would say. Lap 29. Only 20 laps on those mediums.
Yeah, we saw him pit early back in Monza and then have to change strategy.
Actually.
He did have to change strategy midway through his stint and actually made it work. Whether he'll be able to do that here at Japan, unsure, question mark over that car.
Yeah, he's probably going to the end now. 25 laps.
I think so.
Definitely possible with the mediums. Let's see how it works out for him. The gap between him and the leaders of the race right now is roughly 27 seconds? Something like that.
Something in that area, yes. Well, that's why a lot of these teams run in the different lower categories as well, because obviously the car's the same, minus some certain assists and whatever. It's all basically the same. You can get a rough idea of what kind of strategies you can run, what's possible, what's not possible. Of course, also we're experimenting with new drivers that may fill your lineup in the years to come. Stephen Michael is currently in 13th, set the fastest first sector by quite a margin as well. Everyone else running in the 34 mids. He's just set a 33.8.
Lucas also into the pits, by the way. So Ghost Speed opting for the different strategy. At least I think so.
Will it work?
We're going to have to wait and see. It's a massive undercut if the other drivers stay out a lot longer.
Fournier's in for the second time. He's obviously on mediums. He started on the super stuff. Yeah, that makes sense. That's fine. I was going to say, I thought he started outside the top 10. He'll be going to the end on another set of mediums. Currently in 15th place. Going to drop to 17th. There we go. Just behind his teammate. Waiting for that to happen. But when do the leaders bite? When do they come down the pit lane? These top three have absolutely cleared off from everyone else. So it's two ACRs versus the Edgy Sports at the top end of the field. When do they pit?
They might have to at some point. Because, like I said, the gap between them and Brockshok is about 30 seconds right now. So if they wait too long and Brockshok catches those 10 seconds up, which is roughly the pit stop, then Brockshok would come out, or they would come out behind Brockshok. Brockshok is relatively quick on those fresh tires. Purple first sector for him. So they might have to, or they might be forced into pitting a little bit earlier than they would have wanted here.
Well, we'll see if they do it. Burlock's going to stay out. Gosby and Simitic will stay out. Will Mohammed Patel or Mrocek or any of the contingent behind box this lap? Oh, look at that. Danny Van Der Neet and Yuri Kazdop side by side at 130. A bit of contact and they both exit the circuit. Oh, that's brave. I only caught the end of that as Mrocek and Panzer, both the ACR Blues, hit the pit lane. Danny Van Der Neet also hits the pit lane. Of course, both ACR Blues are welcome to come down pit lane at the same time, as they don't actually share box. That's not what happens in FSR, though, so they can pit effectively on their own strategy. The old double stack doesn't happen. There was one trick that I always used to see in rFactor 1 where if you had teammates, you'd share the same box, but if you pulled up at a certain angle to the box and gave enough room on the left or right, then your teammate could come in and pit at the same time. That, in most leagues, got outlawed very quickly because, it was hilarious to look at, but, it just looks pretty stupid.
Yeah. Yellow flag in Sector Michi. Sector 2 was a yellow flag. Who was it? Not sure.
Unsure. No one's dropping back down the order quickly.
No, maybe just an off-track, small off-track from somebody. Michi did lose some time to Callas, though.
Oh, yeah, he's lost a lot of time to Sander Callas. He came across the first sector split, only 6 tenths down. He's now massively down, so it must have been with Michi Hoyer, who's putting in a really good drive so far.
Have a look. He was behind Callas here, coming out of the Deckners. Did he spin? Yes, he spun. Ooh, kept it out of the wall. He slightly tapped it. Kept his front wing, luckily, but surely might have some small damage there. And lost a lot of time and might need a new pair of underwear.
Absolutely. Well, whilst you've been talking about that, Martin Gosby, Burlak and Patel all in the pit lane. Jane Simičić staying out ahead of Sandar Callas on that alternate strategy. Michi Hoyer going to get out ahead of Peter Burlak. Yuri Kazdorp, is he going to just jump him? No, he drops him behind. Another car in between Gosby and Burlak. Stephen Michaels out ahead of Daniel Kish. Mohammed Patel comes out behind both Ghost Speeds of Lukashek and Brakchok, but ahead of the ACR Blue contingent of Mrocek and Panzer. I think big loser in this is HME or a Miller, P15 and P16 at the moment, and quite a way off Panzer. So maybe a struggle for a points score today for HME or a Miller, and that'd be a shame because they scored points in every Grand Prix of the season until Singapore. And they might do back-to-back ones without a point to their name. Jane Simičić in pretty Jane Simičić style, by the way, on the previous lap, despite being his 22nd lap of the stint. He set his personal best lap and has set a personal best second sector on this, as I'm pretty sure he'll be jumping to the pit lane.
Costa. Costa spun around out of the exit of Spoon, and ooh, Stephen Michaels has to avoid it. Oh,
Whoa! So close as Kish. Yuri Kazdop's got his pit limit on as well, by the way, and he's going to pull over. That's it. It's out of the race. He's going to call it that. There we go.
very close to ending the race of Daniel Kish and
Stephen Michaels, yeah. Super close. So Yuri Kazdop becomes our 4th retirement from the Japanese Grand Prix. Yone Simičić, by the way, didn't come into the pit lane. Importantly enough, did set another personal best lap though. Michi Hoyer and Sandor Kalas all set personal bests. A 32.5 for Simičić, 32.3 for Kalas, 31.9 for Michi Hoyer. But Burlak, Gosby, they'll be coming quick. Unless Yone Simičić is trying to push it a little bit further to go into a different compound.
Yes, that would be something that might work. However,
Sounds very Yone Simičić.
Yeah, definitely. But he needs to make sure he doesn't lose too much time. His pace is still good on these tires. He's still quicker than what Burjak did. At least, well, of course, Burjak is on the first lap now. But so far, the first sector isn't massively quicker for Burjak. Maybe the second sector can gain a little bit more there.
What's he going to do to the Casio triangle? Is he going to hold right and come down pit lane? Yes, he is. You hear that slight lift as they come off the chicane and straight into pit lane with a bit of a lock-up. Does Yone Simičić, Sandor Kalas will probably stay out, and he does indeed and retakes the lead. Where is he going to filter out come 20 laps time? That's all that we have left for the Japanese Grand Prix. I'm pretty sure Sandor Kalas will have to get his overtaking underwear on latter part of this race once he heads on to the Supers. Michi Hoyer takes second, so Burlak, Gosby, the ones that have stopped, well ahead of Yone Simičić, who's come out quite a good few seconds behind. Daniel Kish doing a good job now in 6th, but I think he has to make another. He does indeed have to make another pit stop, currently on that alternate strategy. Done 20 and 13 laps on the mediums, 13 into this stint. I kind of think Kish might actually struggle to score points. Obviously, a lot of stories to unravel themselves through the final 20 laps of the Grand Prix. We'll only get a full picture once the likes of Kalas, Hoyer, Kish, Michaels, Rodger, once they've all come into the pit lane. I think Ghostspeed are actually having a pretty decent run of affairs. Currently in 9th and 10th at the moment, but we'll move up those positions just ahead of Mohamed Patel, Devon Rojek and Robin Panzar, who I think will move up into the points. Robin Panzar not having the best Japanese Grand Prix that he would have expected. In fact, ACR Blue in general, they will probably both be in the points once the other stoppers have come in. At the same time, at the lower end of the points, not where ACR would have expected them to be come the turning point of this Grand Prix. 31.6, by the way, for Martin Gosby. Plays a 32.4 for Sandor Kalas. So these lot much, much quicker. Also plays a 31.9 for Burlak. Cross the line for the second time on these new rubber. And again, it's another couple of tenths that Gosby's taken out of Burlak. Got 1.4 seconds to catch, though. How much has he got in the tank, do you reckon?
I don't know. They both were quite a bit in traffic over... Well, apart from the first stint, of course, but they've had a lot of traffic in which they have been able to save the fuel, both of them. So it's not like Burjak has been leading the race without anybody in front of him for all the time and therefore uses more fuel. So I think Petter is pretty okay compared to Gosby, but difficult to say. Of course, we don't know. We can't see with X-ray through their tanks and see how full it is or how empty it is.
Well, Burlak's got his sights set on taking second at the moment. Michi Hoyer, the German, directly ahead of him. And how he would like to get by a bit of a moment on the exit of Spoon for Michi Hoyer. I'm pretty sure this can be done either into the Casio Triangle or into T1. And then there will once again be a car in between Gosby and Burlak. This is a quick thing as well, that thing that we brought up about maybe going on to a different tyre. Obviously, Yone Simičić has just come out on the medium tyre down in 5th, so don't worry too much about that. Burlak, good run out of the Casio Triangle. DRS will be wide open and should be able to clear Michi Hoyer pretty swiftly. On the run down to T1, Hoyer's going to stay left and the move will be done. Easy peasy, Burlak up into second. Godsby sets the fastest lap of the race on that time by 31.651. Yannick Simic actually doesn't really have an answer for this pace at the moment. I know he'll come good at the end of the stint, he always does. Bizarre to see a Grand Prix that's actually only had a few laps and only on strategy difference for Yannick Simic to have led in 2019, of course, race winner many times.
Sorry.
No,
made a mistake, lost the position to Godsby there. His old former teammate, sister teammate, I should say. He's basically watching this old seat that he had earlier this season right in front of him. Hoyer, of course, hasn't stopped yet for the second time. Has to do so because he hasn't fulfilled the tire requirements yet. He's only driven the medium tire so far. Has to stop for at least one more time to go to the super soft or the soft tire.
And when will that pit stop come? We are only 18 laps away from the end of the Grand Prix. Now, the people in the early part of the race, they did 9 laps. 10 laps on the super soft, so a fair way to go for Hoyer yet before he can reach those kind of numbers.
Janos Brakchuk and Patel, and also a lot of other drivers involved in some sort of battle going to the Casio triangle.
Oh, Patel and Mrocek! Wow, that was close. Pantar's going to get both of them, though, around the outside. Patel just lit up the tyres. He's going to drop back behind Mrocek here, I'm pretty sure. Lit up the tyres and basically just cost Mrocek the ability to get by. That was crazy close to a crash on the inside of that pit wall. We've spoken before about how hard it is to put power down. You're coming downhill, and it really drops away there as you want to entertain the idea of putting maximum throttle down. And at that point, the rear end just goes whoop and just starts slipping away. So, especially if there's any sort of contact, and there was a fair amount of contact, that's what allowed Robin Pandar to go all the way around the outside, both of them.
Yeah, let's head off for a quick replay of what happened there between Patel and let's go a little bit further back though. There we go. So coming into the Casio triangle, I think it was started, yeah, by Patel diving up the inside of the Ghostspeed. The Ghostspeed defending hard, and they made a little bit of contact. Patel losing a bit of time, and then Mrocek and Patel made contact coming down, and Pantsar just went around the outside easy peasy.
Yeah, probably the easiest double move that Robin Panzer will have of his World Championship career. Now closes up to the back of Cameron Rodger as they come towards 130R. Is he going to dare to do it? He is indeed. And they're going to go side by side. Cameron Rodger's going to run a little bit wide. That's just going to allow him to lift out. And Robin Panzer's going to have the position. Devin Mrocek's going to try and go around the outside of Cameron Rodger as he's been absolutely swarmed by these drivers on the differing strategy. That's just slowed down Mohamed Patel, who's going to try and go around the outside of the final corner. That's not going to work. And now he's going to go back down to the inside. Has the DRS wide open, as does the flag of Cameron Rodger, who's also got the slipstream of the ACR Blues as Jeffrey Fournier is trying to get back into this. Coming into turn 1, they stay in position. That's important for the two HME Millers, keeping Cameron Rodger behind but ahead of Mohamed Patel and Jeffrey Fournier.
Yeah, Patel struggling a little bit here with the flag-to-flag driver in front of him. Cameron as well, somebody that has to do another stop.
He's going to be getting angry in that car, though. You've got both the HME Millers pulling away at a rapid rate of knots as Cameron Rodger's just run a little bit wide on the exit of the second. Degner is Mohamed Patel going to try anything here. He's going to go late on the brakes and try and do it around the outside of the hairpin with the banking. That should work nicely. He's going to have a great exit. Great move for Mohamed Patel around the outside of the hairpin there. Brilliant stuff.
Using the so-called Alonso line around the hairpin, taking the wider line sometimes helps you, especially with the banking there, as you said.
Just gets a nice clean run on the exit of the corner. And that's what Patel used to good effect. He's going to have to do some work there to catch the back of the two ACR Blues. Jeffrey Fournier back at Cameron Rodger, going to do something at 130R. Going to get straight by. Cameron Rodger says no thank you very much. Holds it around the outside of 130R. Good stuff. Jeffrey Fournier not quite fancy in that one.
Simic and Hoyer into turn 1.
Yep. No incident this time.
Last time
Unlike
around,
a couple of weeks, yeah.
Last time around in Singapore, they made some contact. Ended up in the wall for Jone Simičić without a front wing. Pretty much ended his race right then, right there.
Backshock Panzer both got by Stephen Michaels as Panzer was trying to look to go around the outside of T1 whilst trying to make another double move. But didn't fancy making two in the same race. It's one of those things you drop on a special occasion, a double move. Whilst making that move as well, Jone Simičić set the fastest first sector purple of the race by 0.7 of a second quicker than Martin Gosby directly ahead. So crazy first sector, using DRS and the slipstream to his advantage to set at a blistering first sector time. What's it going to be like through the second though? Sandor Kallas continues to lead again, pole position. A year ago for Sandor Kallas at this circuit, so certainly one that he enjoys, currently leading the way on the alternate strategy, so we'll have to come down pit lane once again, which will drop him outside of the points currently, but potentially could move his way back up. Good second sector for Jone Simičić, trying to translate this into a decent lap time. Down the hill.
Mohammed Patel in 130R on Stephen Michaels. Very close. Now maybe around the outside, coming into the Casio triangle. No, has to wait a little bit.
Hoyer's boxed. What's Hoyer going to come out on? Supers. Daniel Kish is boxed. Softs. Thought so.
Here we go, Patel. Down the inside. Straightforward move. Maybe Fournier also behind that. Opting to choose to do something. No, not yet.
The soft tyre
yes,
coming into effect for Hoyer and Kish, sorry.
Michaels went a little bit wide, and that allowed Jeffrey Fournier to dive up the inside and make the move stick as well. So Michaels losing 2 positions there in the space of 1 straight and a corner.
Yeah, that's a double move you don't want driving back to.
Yeah.
I once saw a driver, Kuba Brzezinski, a few weeks ago in a race. He dropped from pole position from the lead, dropped 5 positions in 1 lap. And it wasn't from a mistake or anything like that, just got absolutely freight trained. That is something which you do not want at any point in your sim racing career, because it is not a nice feeling. The gap at the lead, Burlak's really putting in some good times here, because he's actually pulling away from Gosby at the moment. Currently on this lap, they are literally matching each other perfectly. The faster of that trio is Jone Simičić directly behind, to the surprise of no one. But currently Burlak in a very good position. Sandor Kallas comes down pit road, and he will probably stick on the soft compound tyre, same as Kish and Hoyer. Just going to put both the go speeds back up in the top 5. Soft compound tyre goes on Sandor Kallas. Actually, he's going to come out in a really good spot, well within the points. Just behind Devin Rocek. Very good drive so far then from Sandor Kallas. Stephen Michaels, Cameron Rodger, the 2 flag-to-flags into the pit lane as well. Softs to the end, I'm going to assume 13 laps to go.
Yeah, might be able to gain some places again, because the gap to pretty much top 5 is only 2 seconds. And then up to that, it's another 11 up to Lukacek.
A very good drive from Sandor Kallas here.
Yeah, starting from the back of the grid, pretty much.
Yeah, well outside the top 10. Definitely wasn't the first person on the alternate strategy, but either way, he's made it work. And that's given our lead back, so you can see the 1.7 second gap that Burlak is currently holding over Gosby, which they are matching each other perfectly in the first sector. Pretty much bang on in the second. So no changes happening there. At this point in the race, are they going to be all on the limit? I would assume so. Very unlikely. Oh, Gosby, a bit of a moment out of Casio triangle. Nothing too much, but just lit up the rears a little bit. Struggled to put the power down. Only 0.04 of a second slower than Better Burlak in the final sector of that lap. I say these lot are well clear of the rest of the battle, though. Lukacek more than 10 seconds behind the back of Simičić. Still putting in a very, very good drive. Janis Brakshock not too far behind. So Go Speed once again moving their way back up the order into a good position.
Sorry, Kallas trying to dive up the inside of Morcek coming into turn 1. Decides to back out of it. But Kallas is definitely somebody to keep an eye out on now. With that fresh, soft tire. He's going to be quite a bit quicker than most of the drivers in front of him. But of course, Suzuka isn't an easy place to overtake at. He's going to have to find the right places.
He didn't make it work on the exit. The S's there drops off massively from the back of Devon Rochek. The front end of that car just not really sticking, thanks to the dirty air there. And it's allowed Mohamed Patel to close up to the back of him. He doesn't want to drop a position. He wants to be gaining them. So hopefully he'll clear off into the distance now. But that's the place where he's going to gain a lot of time, is in the traction zone. So once he gets to the likes of the Casio Triangle, if he's close enough to Rochek, expect to move down into T1, because he's going to be able to put the power down much more handily, especially later in the race, once these mediums start falling away from some of these other drivers that have been on them for up to the length of 25 laps in some cases. Runs towards 130R, closing. Might be able to make something into the Casio Triangle. You can hear him just lift out slightly. He doesn't want to close any more than that. Doesn't want to pick up too much more dirt yet. Oh, he was looking. But that's going to give Rochek a really bad drive out of the Casio Triangle for sure. This should be easily done for Sandar Callas. They're going to run down the hill. DRS wide open. Inside, outside. I'm pretty sure Callas has got this regardless on that better combat. Oh, Mochek just trying to move back over. That's it. It's done. Also up ahead, Robin Panzar and Janis Brakshock going side by side. And Janis Brakshock, he just managed to hang on. Robin Panzar did make that move, but then Brakshock did get back through as well. But Sandar Callas now up to 7th. And will be closing up to this and potentially could move himself into 4th place. Wonder if Panzar can move his way back into the top 4. It's where he qualified in that area. Actually, was in third place. That he recorded his qualifying time. Was really up for pole position, but just couldn't make it stick. Things just haven't quite gone to his plan in this race. But nonetheless, doing a good job. Michi Hoyer, by the way, set the fastest lap of the race down in 12th position on the back of Ricardo Costa. 31.0 at a half a second quicker than anyone else in the circuit right now. As you would expect on some brand new tyres. That is important though, because it will show the kind of pace that we would suspect we could see out of Sandar Callas, who set a personal best in the first sector, comes across the second sector now, and it is not a personal best, but he was purple on the previous lap in that second sector, by the way. And look at how much he closes up under braking to Panzar. Going to be harder to get by these guys though. Panzar's going to try and move on Brakshock, surely, as Callas crosses the line and sets another personal best of 31.2. Massively quicker. Robin Panzar's going to go around the outside. Not quite going to get there. Going to try and go back for the undercut. It was worth a go. Just wasn't quite close enough to try that one on Brakshock. This is just costing them time, and Callas is very much there. When will he make his move, though? When's he going to get that opportunity, that sniff, that whiff, that tiny bit of hope to move up the positions? Currently in that 7th place. And we'll be looking to move up. I think 4th is realistically the best he can do. But whether he can actually do it is another story. 1.5 seconds separates the top 2 once again. But the personal best on that lap does come from the camp of Martin Gosby. So pace picking up at the front. I think it's good. It could come down to a good old final lap shootout between those lot.
Yeah, maybe Gosby has been saving his fuel, saving his tires slightly. But maybe Burek has been doing the same as well. And I have to wait and see in the last few laps what they are going to be able to do. Panzar again close to Brakshock, having a peak coming into this triangle. Again, not a great exit for Brakshock. A bit of wheel spin for Panzar.
Yeah, he didn't really put down the power too well, but he's going to be closing with the DRS and the slipstream. And I think it might just be close enough to try something on the inside or outside. Janis Brakshock moves in very late. Oh my goodness me, had a bit of a wobble there. If I was Panzar, I'd be needing some trousers. Here comes Sandar Callas around the outside though. Very opportunistic. And that's that one done. Sandar Callas up into 6th position. Fantastic work for Callas. Not sure, but Brakshock moved over quite a bit. But there was no contact. There was enough room, but I'm pretty sure it was just enough to throw Robin Panzar off. Just lost it a little bit by trying to move over with a DRS wide open. Yeah, not quite not quite what you would have expected, but Callas now up in the 6th position. So that's another driver down. Tick. Who's next on the list?
Janos Brakshock is next. You saw I'm struggling in some of the acceleration areas before. 9 laps to go, including this one, so pretty much 8.5. See what they're able to do. The ghost speeds obviously have the advantage that they are close to each other. They can help each other, give a bit of slipstream or the DRS to the driver behind. Carlos doesn't have that luxury.
No, he doesn't. But closing again. I kind of get the feeling that Lukaszek's dropping back to just assist Brakshock here. But again, as I said earlier, through the traction zone, that's where the soft tyre's really going to come into its own. As he heads into the DRS zone once more, he's going to be really closing out slipstream. We've seen that Janos Brakshock moves late. Sander Kallas saw that from a distance. Not quite close enough. The gap really came down in the last lap by a couple of tenths as Gosby closed in. Reminder to the 2005 Japanese Grand Prix, came down to the final lap of the race. An excellent drive from Kimi Räikkönen past Giancarlo Fisichella into turn 1 on one of the most famous final lap showdowns in Formula 1. So potentially we could have something of that variety later this afternoon. We've only got 8 laps to tick off. Oh, Sander Kallas well wide. He just completely missed the apex. Gets back onto the road though and somehow doesn't drop a position. Maybe he might do up into the hairpin though. He's going to cover it off on the inside. Panzer doesn't think anything of it. Mohamed Patel looking on the inside of Devin Rodger in the background though. Didn't quite make. I think it was more just through the concertina that he made that one look. But yeah, Sander Kallas just didn't turn in for the first apex. Almost is like, oh, that's where it is. Sorry. Didn't lose too much though. We've seen some big crashes in the history at that corner. I think Bonacuis in 2014, I think it was, came off there in a massive incident and retired from that race.
I believe resulting in a win then for Petar Bojak as well.
Oh yeah, I think it was it Burlak that year. I think it was it Gosby? I think it was Gosby.
2014.
Because I don't think Burlak's been on the podium yet.
Let's see, Japan. It was Gosby indeed. Yes.
Gosby. There we go. Oh, memory. That was back in the day. That was the first season on rFactor 2. Fun fact for those of you sat at home. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure Petar Bojac's not actually racked up a podium on this circuit, considering how strong he's been in his World Championship career. He's yet to rack one up at this circuit today. Looks like it could be the day though. In fact, in his World Championship season, there was only 2 circuits where he didn't finish on the podium. One of them he got disqualified because of a breaking of the tyre rule. That was the Italian Grand Prix. And the other one was the Japanese Grand Prix. Every other circuit, he was on the podium. Might be breaking that duck in a big way this afternoon.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, if he doesn't finish on the podium, something bad's got to happen between that top 3 because they are so far ahead of Lukaszek. Sander Kallas has wasted almost no time as well, closing up to the back of Janos Brakshock. So only a second between that, so he's back in DRS. But when's that move going to come? He's personal best, by the way, for Robin Panzer, so he's keeping in the mix for moving up a few positions. Anything happen between this lot, and that's what will happen. Janos Brakshock's had a few controversial mistakes over the last few races, and potentially it might have scared Robin Panzer, but here comes Sander Kallas. He moves a bit late, but Sander Kallas gets to the inside. No worries, easily done. And Sander Kallas is going to get up to 5th position. The good drive continues.
And now Lukaszek only a few tenths in front of him. Surely with 6 laps to go, he's going to at least have an opportunity to get to that 4th position. It would be a great drive for the Estonian driver.
Yeah, remember what I said about HME Ora Miller and the fact that they scored points in every Grand Prix except the Singapore Grand Prix this season? That, I said, might have a back-to-back kind of feel about it here as well. And with Michi Hoyer, he has just set the fastest lap of the race, a 31.0. The next car ahead, P10, and what is it? It's a HME Ora Miller, and the only one inside the points, Jeffrey Fournier, in that 10th spot at the moment. So realistically, HME Ora Miller under threat for dropping outside of the points for the 2nd Grand Prix in succession. Not what you want at this point of your season. To lose everything now. 5 laps to go. 1.1 seconds separates the lead. Simoncic also closing in as well. Everyone is just coming in like an elastic band at the top. Only a tenth separating them on times. It was actually pretty close. It was half a tenth between Burlak and Gosby and half a tenth between Gosby and Simoncic. Simoncic the faster. Second fastest was Gosby. Third fastest was Burlak.
Panzer going for a move on Rakshok on the inside. Straight forward. Moving himself up to 6th.
I would say didn't need a second invitation to that, but I'm pretty sure it was about like his 3rd or 4th attempt at it. So finally gets it done.
But Rodger battling again. Putting a wheel on the grass there for a second.
Michi Hoyer is now right in contention for this line, and I think he could be up for a good few points even after that mistake at the second Degner. If he didn't make that mistake at the second Degner, he'd be right with Sandor Kalas.
Yeah, they were right behind each other.
Oh, Mohamed Patel just clipped the inside of the second Degner. It's going to be side by side up towards the hairpin. Oh, there's contact between the two. Oh my goodness, that was so close to being a much, much bigger incident. They're still locked in wheels, and that's it. There we have the big incident. That was Mohamed Patel moving over on Jeffrey Fournier when he was absolutely still there. Michi Hoyer gains both positions.
Oh, who's that? Ricardo Costa coming into the way of Mohamed Patel. I think. Yeah.
Oh, Ricardo Costa as well, typing a... Yeah, okay, so Mohamed Patel was struggling to put the power down and then just comes across Ricardo Costa, and now Ricardo Costa's putting stuff in the chat, which is just like, let's not get into that, but either way, that's a pretty silly mistake, to be fair, on both parts, in my opinion. Either way, that's that one done. And that would mean that HME Romilla now should be back in contention for the points as Janis Brakshok gets overtaken by David Mrocek into turn 1. Let's focus on the more positive side of the Grand Prix. A decent move there from Mrocek around the outside as Sandor Kalas dragging his way up to P4. The other go speed going to be under threat soon. I think Brakshok's tyres have absolutely fallen off. He's going to be overtaken by Michi Hoyer here as well pretty soon. I don't think he'll drop further down the 9th though. So should be a couple of points to the name of Janis Brakshok this afternoon.
Yeah, at the moment Cameron Rodger carrying the red lantern. 4 laps to go. Got a bit of a gap to his teammate in front of him, Stephen Michaels as well. Of course, Cameron not a regular World Championship driver, just filling in this round for POP. For an Eric Andre.
Yeah, of course, was due to join me in the commentary box, but decided that racing was much more fun. So, whatever. I'm not hurt by it at all. Don't worry. Not hurt at all. Sandor Kalas. Oh, wow. 130R was all over the curb on the inside and nearly had a huge hold off. Just behind Lukaszek now. He's going to put that power down and surely should be able to try and get by using the DRS. But that's actually a really good exit from Lukaszek. I don't think he's going to be close enough into T1 here. He's closing, and I don't know. He's not going to be close enough, not at all, not even remotely close enough. As Hoyer gets past Brakshok for P8. Easy move, slipstream, straight by, DRS, done. Easy as you like. I think once Kalas gets by Lukaszek as well, Lukaszek might be under threat from Robin Panzar behind. And David Mrocek, who's not looking like a slouch at the moment. And to be honest, Michi Hoyer, who's not looking like a slouch. Wouldn't want to be the ghost speed at the moment. Strategically, this one's not working out quite as well as it did for Tom Satherley earlier in the day.
Yeah, we saw those ghost speeds stopping relatively early for their second stop. And just not working out for them at the moment. Really starting to drop off on their tires now with 3 laps to go. Those medium tires can go for quite a long while, but at some point they are really starting to drop off.
One person who's not dropping off at the moment, Jone Simoncic closing into his teammate. Martin Gosby's really struggling to close that gap. We have 2 laps to go here of the Japanese Grand Prix, and if it's going to come down to the final lap, Martin Gosby's got to put in an absolute stunner to close up to the back of Petter Burlak, who is doing everything he can and controlling this race with extreme precision. I said once he wins that first race, it does open the floodgates. He was in contention back in Spa. A spin at Les Combes was what cost him victory that day. Ended up second. Was victorious in Singapore, maybe through the fortune of Jone Simoncic having an incident with Michi Hoyer. Martin Gosby being caught out in that as well, also with a bit of luck with the traffic coming into the pit lane. But it seems going back to back is something that Petter Burlak likes doing. If he wins this afternoon, it will be Edge Esports' second win in the World Championship, and it will also put him in a really good position for second and be his 15th World Championship race win. The other man to do that this season is, of course, the world champion Jone Simoncic.
Yeah, we just saw Salan Carlos get past Wojciech Lukacek as well. Straightforward move down the main straight. Puts himself up to fourth. Great drive from him. Now he's just got to do those last 2 laps, get it home, and have a great result for, especially considering where he started.
Yeah, as I said before, pole position last year, and it seems to be a circuit that works nicely for him. Really putting that into perspective in this race. I think he had a pole position earlier in the year, did he not? Maybe at Azerbaijan or potentially. I don't think it was China because I think Michele D'Alessandro had pole position back then. But either way, Santa Carlos doing certainly a good job here. We enter the final lap of the race and the lead gap, half a second as we hit it. So we'll have to keep an eye on what's happening here. Martin Gosby trying to pile on the pressure to the Edge Esports driver of Petter Burlak, who's wide at Dunlop. He is pushing for all he is worth. They head through the Degners. I think Martin Gosby might have left this a day late and a dollar short. He set a 31.0 on the previous lap, which this late in the stint is very, very impressive. But I just don't think he's got the answers for Petter Burlak. It's going to come down to that slipstream, maybe down into Spoon, not close enough. Not really a good drive for Martin Gosby off of a hairpin. So he's got to really nail Spoon, the run down towards turn 30R, and his only opportunity is going to come from that of the Casio Triangle. The final lap of the race, the final couple of corners for these drivers in the World Championship. We've got 2 rounds after this. Gosby's going to have to follow Burlak over to the left-hand side of the road. He's just not going to be close enough, but look at how fast he is catching. He's turned that engine all the way up to qualifying mode. Oh, we're going to have a move here into the hairpin outside. Is he going to go? Yes, he is. He's going to commit on the brakes and try and make it stick around the outside. Better Burlak, there's contact between the two. Burlak's going to have the better run on the outside, though. But Martin Gosby, oh, he's done it. And there's contact between the two, but Martin Gosby left it to the final corner, and he's done it. Oh, but he's run out of fuel. There's contact on the final corner. Oh, my goodness me. But he's done it. By 1/10 of a second, separates Gosby, Burlak, and Simoncic. That was crazy close. Fuel consumption came down to an absolute T, and Gosby takes victory here at Japan from Burlak, snatched at the final corner. Crazy racing here. Edge Esports don't go back-to-back. ACR reaffirm themselves at the top of the World Championship and take their 11th win of the season.
Yeah, what a finish to that race. I'm just gonna go back on the replay with Martin Gosby as he got past Ricardo Costa there. What an amazing overtaking move from the Englishman. Here you can see it on board from Gosby. Catching. Through 130R they go. Ricardo just doesn't have the fuel. Then hard braking, a little bit of wheel banging. This is all fine. Still more wheel banging. Absolutely fine. And then a lot of wheel spin coming out. And just finishing ahead of Gosby, also running out of fuel. What an ending to this race.
That is going to need a photograph. That would talk about photo finish. Crazy stuff. Definitely going to have to catch an interview with those three. I'm sure we'll get some good words. Excellent battle. Really, between them, there wasn't any overtakes until that final bit, but we can't actually ignore the rest of the finishers, so let's go through them because that was absolutely mental. Sander Callas finishes in 4th position after a very good drive. Lukaszek in 5th. Panzar 6th ahead of Mrocek, Hoyer, Brakshock, and Fournier does get a point for HME or Miller. Daniel Kish outside of the point points for the other Edge Esports. Then Danny van der Neet, Stephen Michaels, and Cameron Rodger. The retirement to the race: Mohamed Patel, Ricardo Costa, Yuri Kazdorp, Michele D'Alessandro, Bojan Bogdanov, and Jos Araneda out earlier in the race. But wow, that was an absolutely crazy race. Came down to the final bit, as we sometimes would expect in this. We had that stolen away from us back in Italy, but it's good to have a final lap showdown absolutely coming down to it. I thought Gosby had left that too late. Obviously not.
Yeah, let's just wait now to get some driver interviews. We will move over to the Discord channel, so bear with us for a slight moment as we change from TeamSpeak to Discord. And after that, we will get the insights from Peter Bojak and from Martin Gosby. All right.
Here we are. Wow. I say, after another crazy, scintillating Grand Prix here in the FSR World Championship, we really have had it all this season. As much as the championship realistically hasn't, much to look at, Jone Simicic has just absolutely dominated affairs at the top end of the field. Every race has absolutely delivered. It actually kind of reminds me of MotoGP in 2014, where as much as Marquez was winning almost every race was so good to watch still. And that's kind of where we're at. With every race has entertainment up and down the order, strategical masterclasses coming from certain drivers, and really shows what SimRacing and FSR in general can do.
Yes, indeed. No drivers yet. There we go. I think it's time to start off with a certain... Oh, maybe not.
He was in there for a minute. There he is.
Here we go.
Quick, drag him in before he runs away again. Wow, there is a lot to go through here. First off, most important question. Martin Gosby is with us, race victor here at Japan. That final corner, mate, talk us through it.
That was just insane, really. I hope it was fair between me and Petar, but it was the only chance. I wasn't close enough the lap before to go for a pass into turn one, so full boost, full mix, right out of fuel across the line. Perfect.
Yeah, it was. You were calling it tight on there on fuel. Now I always get nervous when it comes to fuel numbers anywhere near zero, as a few other people in SimRacing. How do you keep cool? Not only going for victory, knowing that the fuel is super tight, and trying to go around the outside of a very tricky corner.
Yeah, I was watching my fuel consumption each lap, and I was doing a bit of saving just so I can boost. I was actually I thought I'd just run out of laps, and I thought that was it. So yeah, I don't know how it happens. Full boost from the exit spoon down into the last chicane, and tried not to spin on the exit.
Yeah, so it was an incredible move around the outside. But what I really have to ask is, I brought it up on the broadcast. You've kind of brought it up there a little bit. I said that you'd left it too late. You set a 31-0 on the second last lap, and then were really going for it. I was sort of sat there thinking, nah, not close enough to catch. You did catch. You did do it. Was that part of the script, or did you kind of think that Burlak kind of had you covered over that final stint? Because that gap was almost locked to 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, I thought Petar was just controlling the pace, really. I thought he was managing things. I was right on the limit for the front tyre wear as well, with hitting the cliff at 30. I think I ended it on 30 as well. I didn't want them to drop off too early, like at the exit of Spoon. So yeah, it was interesting.
Wow, thank you very much, Martin Gosby, our race winner here at Japan. Incredible. So thank you very much. The next man we'll drag into is Jone Simicic. Oh, he's been dragged off the end. Jone Simicic, the came by the tiniest of margins. 1/10 separated you, well, actually 700ths of a second for those who want the full story, between you and a race victory. But still, you can't be disappointed with that one, surely.
No, I'm very happy. Also happy for Martin to have won. And yeah, after already doing one quite crazy race for the other event in the early afternoon, yeah, that was quite insane doing another like really crazy race in the evening. Yeah, I'm just a little bit disappointed to have lost my nerves, because in the exit of the last corner of the race, I saw that I had the chance, but the right foot was just too heavy, so I had to like catch the car and lose the critical tenth.
I mean, you still finished third, so you can't be. No, that's fine. Of course, there's a race victory on the line, so I understand. We were actually speaking about this earlier in the broadcast, about how, despite you having the championship wrapped up, that hunger for victory is still there, isn't it? You're desperate for more victories to keep your name on top of this season and really cement it as yours.
Yeah, of course. I mean, what's the point of racing if you don't go for the victory? But I forgot what I wanted to say. What did you?
I was just talking about how you always have that drive to win that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Of course I have. But the other event, the A1 Esports, just had the superior priority, or whatever the words should I choose, because I could not not waste, but I just could not afford like testing for FSR when I had to test for that event, which is at the moment way more important for me. So I was quite scared in the qualifying, because I just did not feel the car. But yeah, in the end it just clicked, and like I mean, who would have thought? Burliak, Gosby, Simončić, like racing in WC in 2013 against each other, and then 6 years later, we are still racing each other here.
Yeah, it's always good to have that sort of historical reference. That's Jari SimRacing, the man who finished third in this Grand Prix, and of course, our world champion for 2019. Thank you very much for joining us. And the next person and final person we will drag in.
I did it like twice.
Oh, sorry. I mean, I should have messaged you before jumping you in, but whatever. My apologies. Pet Burlak is with us, who I've just jumped mid-word out of a conversation with Martin Gosby. So actually, we can ask you about that. How was that conversation going? How's that feeling?
We were both unsure of whether it was his fault or it was just a racing incident. I don't know. Because, I mean, it looked quite clean, but then again, he just pushed me a bit, made a bit of wheel contact to the curb, and I couldn't go on the power, and yeah, that was it. But I mean, it was a really small thing. I don't know if it's worth a penalty. Hard to say. Like, for the sake of racing, probably not.
I mean, the racing was still very, very good. Regardless, it was very exciting, at least to watch. Obviously, came down to that final. Did you kind of think, with 2 laps to go, Gosby's not going to catch me? Did you kind of get into a comfort zone, or were you kind of pushing at 110% at all times?
I was trying to do it like 97% all the time, but near the end, I saw the gap was coming down. I think he was using a bit of quali boost on the 2 straights, so it was like a 10th here, a 10th there. Then I had to start using it. Then I kind of was scared last 2 laps that my engine would blow up. So on the last straight, I didn't use it. That cost me probably the win. But also, I used it at the start, so those 5 seconds would have probably made the difference.
Crazy margins in the World Championship, but either way, you still racked up a podium, which, from the statistics that I can see, is the first time you've actually been on the podium in Japan in the World Championship. So at least that's one ticked off. It wasn't the position you wanted, but still, second's good going into the final couple of rounds of the season. I did mention before that once you'd opened up that account for victory in the season, which normally happened quite late in your World Championship career, you kind of did quite a few back-to-back. So I'm assuming heading into the next couple of rounds with a lot of confidence to finish the season, surely.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not really that the late season is one of my favorite periods, but it's just that I have, if, for example, the first half of the season or something didn't go to plan, I mean, I couldn't practice that much. So then in the second half, I practice a bit more. So I usually have some wins there. And also, Kota is a nice track. So
Yeah, well, we'll join you hopefully back on the podium in COTA in a couple of weeks' time. Of course, that Grand Prix happening on the 10th of November, so it's actually 3 weeks' time. Thank you, Peter Belak. Finished second by the tiniest of, but still definitely a worthy podium sitter. So thank you, Peter. And that pretty much wraps us up for proceedings here in Japan. And it's been a crazy race. Just as an FYI, there is now 2 points separating Peter Burlak and Martin Gosby for that second in the title. Second in the championship. Very, very important there for them. And of course, with the teams and stuff. Felix, can we see this come down to the wire at Brazil?
Maybe we've still got a round in between, of course. The American Grand Prix, which will be in 3 weeks' time, I think. 10th of November. And after that, it could well be going to the wire in Brazil, of course. Just to wait and see what these amazing drivers will be showing us later on. But for now, we have to wait a little bit more.
Exactly. Of course, you say 3 weeks until the United States Grand Prix from the COTA circuit, and then 2 weeks after that, we head to Brazil on November the 24th, and that will wrap up 2019. And it has been a good season so far. The races have been absolutely crazy, left, right, and centre. We've had another barnstormer of a race here in Japan, but that will wrap us up here. So we'll see you in 3 weeks' time at the United States. Thank you very much for watching. It's been Lewis McGlade alongside Felix Van Dale for today's action, and we will see you then. Until then, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Hey man, I got that new TMX Thrustmaster wheel. It's going down.
Xbox One?
I can't wait to play when I get home.
Yo, let me play.
Yeah, I play first. Yeah.
You know, I'll race you for it.
Well, I have a hand.